Since 2001, Norway has been the country with the highest development index in the world. It has been assigned the position of being at the forefront of human civilization, as observed in human development reports. In addition to that, the country was nominated by the UN as the best country to live in. This happened in 2009. Norway has also received other titles, such as in 2007, when it was considered, through the Global Peace Index, the most peaceful country in the world, and in 2017 it was considered the happiest country in the world. It surpassed Denmark, which was in the first place on the list before. This is truly a paradise on Earth. Imagine a place where the homicide rate is below 0.58 per 100,000 inhabitants. Just to give you an idea, in 2014 there were only 2 shootings in the whole year. It's almost impossible to see confrontations between criminals and the police. In this country, there are supermarkets with smart checkout systems, meaning there's no need for people behind the cash register. And if it weren't for Norwegians, the world wouldn't have salmon sushi. One thing you'll love is the culture of this country, which I'll tell you about in a moment. Another strange curiosity is that a penguin named Niels Olaf received the title of Colonel-in-Chief of the King's Guard and was nominated by the king himself. The country is known for having the happiest people in the world and also some of the richest. Besides having incredibly fascinating things in everyday life worth sharing, all in all, the Norwegian oil fund alone is worth around $1 trillion. However, the country only spends 3% of the fund per year. The reason? They're saving for the next generation. Norwegian courts are so compassionate towards nightclubs that it was determined that stripping is a form of art and should therefore be exempt from value-added tax. Everything I've told you so far is just the tip of the iceberg. The best of it all I'll tell you throughout the video, but to understand that well, you first need to know that Norway is considered the country with the best quality of life in the world. Norwegians enjoy a high quality of life that is built on a great state investment. A curiosity about Norway has to do with the origin of its name, which can even lead to disagreement among different etymologists. However, most of them consider that the name of the country means the way to the north, being an adaptation of the Old Norse language, Norveger. So initially, the name of the country was Norger, but later it was modified to what we currently know as Norway. Norway is located in northern Europe on the Scandinavian peninsula. Norway's history is quite ancient and dates back, among others, to ancient peoples such as the Vikings. Currently, Norway has about 5 million inhabitants who enjoy a high quality of life. The country has modern infrastructure and a highly diversified economy. Norway is one of the most successful countries in the Winter Olympics. So far, I think you can have an idea of what Norway is like. Now let's see how the country became so spectacular and incredible. Well, modern Norwegian history is marked by the dominance of national territory by Denmark and Sweden. The country faced various political and military disputes with its Nordic neighbors because they wanted to conquer their autonomy. In this way, in 1905, it became independent, more precisely from Sweden. Since then, Norwegian society has shown strong economic and social development. The Norwegian population, mostly urban, is distributed heterogeneously throughout the national territory, predominantly in areas with more favorable climatic conditions for habitation. The largest cities in terms of population in Norway are Oslo, Bergen, and Trondheim. Population growth has remained especially due to immigration, which has increased substantially in recent years. The country receives many immigrants from both more developed countries in Europe and refugees from poorer regions of the globe. The population in Norway enjoys a very high standard of living. A curious fact is that Norway has some of the most humane prisons in the world. This can be seen even in prisons where the most dangerous criminals are housed. The focus of the country's penitentiary system is to rehabilitate the citizen and not just punish them. That's why there is always a concern to offer them a dignified life. Norwegian cuisine. Norwegian meals are among the richest and most admired in the world. You should try at least one of the country's typical dishes at a good restaurant. This country has a fantastic cuisine that you must try at least once in your life. There is a fact, and it is that the vast majority of Norwegian dishes are made from fish, and one of the main fishes used has a funny name, which is the angelfish. Another meat that is widely used is reindeer meat. Still talking about gastronomy, it's always good to eat some fish with beer, although this drink is quite expensive there. It costs around $6 per bottle, and that doesn't just happen with drinks, since Norway has a very high tax rate. The Norwegian state management is divided among the executive, legislative, and judicial powers. The form of government in Norway is a constitutional monarchy, meaning the head of state is the king and the prime minister is the head of government. The country is one of the most solid democracies in the world. Norway has a strong presence in terms of international diplomacy, conducting various actions to defend human rights, as well as the preservation of the environment. Norway is a highly developed and industrialized nation, The local economy is quite diversified, with significant points in all economic sectors that guarantee the solidity of national currencies. The Norwegian primary sector is characterized by the exploitation of oil and natural gas, fundamental elements for generating wealth in the country. Norway also has reserves of various mines on its lands. The extraction of wood and fishing activity are also highlighted in the primary sector. The country is marked by industries for the benefit of natural goods, such as metallurgical and steel mills, as well as factories for capital goods such as machinery and equipment. For example, aluminum production is quite traditional in the country. The high-tech sector is also a protagonist of the secondary economy. The tertiary sector, on the other hand, has as its strong point transportation and trade. Norway has a significant part of the world fleet of ships and boats, with maritime cargo transport being important for the country's economy. Financial institutions and commercial logistics are also prominent in tertiary activities. Norwegian culture has strong traces of Nordic culture in general, with a great influence of the natural environment on the daily habits of the population. The country is known for its musical production, mainly focused on heavy metal, although there are other prominent rhythms such as jazz. In addition, dance and folk festivals clearly influenced by Viking culture are very common in the country. Food in Norway is based on meats such as salmon and cod, as well as bread and vegetables. In the field of sports, winter practices such as skiing and handball stand out. Traffic fines are very high, and driving under the influence doesn't exist. In addition to losing your license, you pay a fine according to your salary. There's the case of a millionaire heiress who paid a $30,000 fine after being found driving drunk. Generally, speed cannot exceed 80 to 100 kilometers per hour on highways, and within the city, it's 30 to 40 kilometers per hour, and no one drives closer than the car in front of them. In Norway, everyone follows the rules because of the very high fines they face. The rush hour traffic peak is at 3:30 p.m. They don't stop for lunch hour. Generally, they eat a sandwich at work and can go home early to exercise or do different chores. Another interesting piece of information is that Norway has been considered the best place on the planet for a woman to be a mother. This data was based on the analysis of several important factors in that situation, such as maternal and infant mortality rates, as well as economic situations and education levels. Norwegians are super punctual. Being 5 minutes late is tolerable if you were invited to dinner, for example, but being 10 minutes late is considered rude. In work meetings, schedules are highly respected, which is a complaint from Norwegian executives regarding business meetings. Oslo, the capital, is the safest city you can imagine. Even if someone walks talking on the phone in the street or alone, it's safe. There's no sense of insecurity that is felt in other countries. This is considered the most positive aspect of Norway. Walking alone on the street at 11 p.m. and being certain that you won't be mugged. The downside is that Norway is one of the countries with the highest cost of living in Europe. To give you an idea of how public safety in Norway develops, in 2014, for example, the police fired only 2 shots throughout the year, and no one was injured. From 2002 to 2014, 2 people died while confronting the police, a reality really different from that of other countries. In restaurants, you can ask for tap water, and it's not charged. In Norway, you can drink tap water anywhere. The concept of buying water in bottles, as in other countries, doesn't exist. More than just a curiosity, something exemplary that should be expanded worldwide is that Norwegian society is one of the most advanced in terms of gender equality, both economically and socially. This has become cultural, as it has been passed among the people of the country. In elevators, people don't greet each other, and that's normal for Norwegians. They are not rude, don't think that. It's just not normal for them, the spontaneity and human warmth found in other countries, typical of a tropical country. Norwegians are simple in their way of dressing, and it's noticeable that they're not as consumeristic regarding clothing. There is a law advocating for equality, and no one should think they are superior to others. Feeling superior is not well seen in any way. Norway is one of the countries that contributes the most to the United Nations, helping even in missions that are internationally known, such as Afghanistan and Kosovo. In Norway, there are cities that can go 2 months without seeing sunlight, which is called the polar night, a period of days and sometimes even months where the polar regions of the Earth are completely in darkness. This occurs due to the inclination of the Earth's axis, and the closer to the poles, the longer the period without sunlight. Being such a relevant country in different aspects, Norway managed to establish and found several organizations such as the United Nations, the Nordic Council, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, and the Council of Europe, In addition to participating in various other organizations such as the European Economic Area, the World Trade Organization, and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. In Norway, it's common to leave babies outside when they need to sleep. For example, if you're going to a restaurant, there will generally be baby carriages outside with babies sleeping in them. It's normal in most Nordic countries. When babies are in preschool and it's nap time, it's normal to see many strollers outside, and they don't get cold because they're always wrapped in carriages with plenty of clothes. If you liked the video, leave your like and your comment, and don't forget to activate the notification bell to always be notified of new videos.